Morning students. Yesterday we had been discussing with the GST. Today also we are doing the same. So the question is, enter the following transactions in the books of Lakshmi Traders. Assuming that all the transactions have taken place in the state of Rajasthan. Now since they have told us that we have to assume that all the transactions have taken place in Rajasthan only, that means all the transactions are intrastate transaction. So there will be no IGST available. There will be only CGST and SGST that we do apply in case of intrastate transactions. Now what we have is, assume CGST is 9% and SGST is 9%. So we'll have to take both CGST and SGST at the rate 9%. Now we have the first point, that purchased goods for rupees 5 lakh from Chauhan Traders at the rate 20% trade discount. So let's check out. Now as we already have discussed that we have purchased goods of rupees 5 lakh and after providing 20% का trade discount, 5 lakh का 50,000 comes to 50,000, 5 lakh का 10% comes to 50,000, so 20% will be 1 lakh. So we'll subtract this 1 lakh from 5 lakh and we'll get is 4 lakh. That means the total purchase amount after charging trade discount is going to be 4 lakh. As we already have discussed that trade discount is directly subtracted and it is not shown in the books of accounts. So our purchases are going to be debited with the amount of rupees 4 lakh. So let's check the points. Now since we have purchased goods, purchases account debit being an expenditure got debited with 4 lakh. At the same time, on purchases when we are paying GST also, that is also need to be debited being an expenditure. So input CGST account got debited and input SGST account got debited. Now since we have purchased goods from Chauhan Traders, it simply means that cash is yet to be paid since we have given emphasis on the name of Chauhan Traders. It simply means that it's a credit transaction and that is why Chauhan Traders being giver have got credited. Now let's check the amount. As we already have discussed that purchase amount is 4 lakh. Now on this 4 lakh, we have to charge 9% CGST and 9% SGST. That comes to 9 4s are 36. That means 36,000 will be the amount of CGST and 36,000 will be the amount of SGST. So as you can see here, CGST is 36,000 and SGST is also 36,000. So since 4 lakh got debited with purchases, input CGST got debited with 36,000, input SGST got debited with 36,000. So the total amount should be 4,72,000. And here we have completed our first entry. Let's move towards the second point. The second point we have is sold goods to Pushkar Brothers for rupees 3,20,000. Now we have sold goods, so there will be entry for sale. Let's check it out. Since there is no trade discount or cash discount, so simply we sold goods to Pushkar Brothers of the amount 3,20,000. So on this 3,20,000 will also charge GST because that is required by government. So we'll have to collect it also. So into 9 upon 100, that comes to 9 2s are 18, 9 3s are 27, 28. That means 28,800 will be the amount of CGST, and same amount will be there for SGST as well. So the entry will be, now remember very clearly that since we have sold goods to Pushkar Brothers, that means Pushkar Brothers is the receiver of the goods and hence their account got debited. So Pushkar Brothers account debit amount, I'll tell you just right now. Pushkar Brothers got debited. At the same time, sales being an income has to be credited. So sales, as you can see here, we have credited with the amount of rupees 3,20,000 since sales is an income. Now at the same time, do remember that GST we are collecting on behalf of government. GST we are collecting on behalf of government. So since GST is collected on behalf of government, that is a liability because we are collecting and we have to pay it to the government. So anything that we are liable to pay is a liability, and that is why output CGST and output SGST got credited because this is the liability that we have to pay. Now as we already have discussed that the both amounts are going to be 28,800 and 28,800. Now technically the amount of sale came to 3,20,000. The output CGST that has to be collected 28,800. Output SGST has to be collected 28,800. So total amount that need to be collected by Pushkar Brothers is 320 plus 28,800 plus 28,800, which gives a total of rupees 3,77,600. That's it. Moving towards the next point. And the next point is received from Pushkar Brothers a check of rupees 2 lakh on account and check is sent to bank. Now does this make a sense? Check is sent to bank? Yes, it do make a sense. Let's understand this very properly. Sometimes what happens that we have collected a check, but we did not send it to the bank. Now just think of it, if you collected check, but you did not send that check to the bank. So what is happening here is, your bank did not got debited because you are not receiving that amount into your bank account. You just have received check and not money into your account. Unless and until you send the check to the bank, you cannot receive that amount into your bank account. And that is why we should always remember that if check is sent to bank, it simply means that check is sent to bank and got collected. But if check is not sent to bank, it means that we just have check in our hand. So if it would have mentioned that check is not sent to bank, then our entry instead of bank would have been check in hand account debit. But here since we have sent that check into bank, that means bank got the amount and bank will be debited. So let's check the entry. As bank got the amount, bank got debited, and this amount is given by Pushkar Brothers. So they must be credited. Let's check the entry. Here we go. Bank being receiver got debited with 2 lakh and Pushkar Brothers being given got credited with 2 lakh. So it was the end of our third point. Let's move towards the next point. And the next point we have is purchased furniture for rupees 50,000 and payment made by check. Now students, do remember that even if we are purchasing fixed assets, we must pay GST on them as well, because GST is applicable to almost everything except some basic necessities. So purchase of furniture cannot be considered as a basic necessity. So here, since we have purchased furniture, so furniture has to be debited, but along with input CGST and input SGST. Let's check the point. Since we have received furniture being real when coming into the business has to be debited. Furniture being real when coming into the business has to be debited. So we have debited furniture account with 50,000. At the same time, furniture purchased, so we'll have to pay input CGST and input SGST, which means GST. Now 50,000 ka 9%, that comes to 9 5s are 4,500. That means 4,500 will be the amount of CGST and 4,500 will be the amount of SGST. So here we go. Input CGST account got debited with 4,500. Input SGST account got debited with 4,500. Now, we have paid 50,000 for furniture, 4,500 for CGST and 4,500 for SGST. So, the total amount paid will be 59,000. That is 50 plus 4,500 plus 4,500. Okay, the next point we have is advertisement charges of rupees 20,000 paid by check. This is also an expenditure and this also need to pay GST. Now since we have paid advertisement charges of 20,000, but we have to pay it along with GST. And since we are paying it by check, that means it will be credited by bank. Let's check the entry. Here we go. Advertisement being an expenditure, advertisement account debit. How much? 20,000, as we already have discussed the amount. Now since advertisement of 20,000 have to bear some CGST and SGST. So 20,000 into 9%, that comes to 1,800. So here you can check 1,800 is the amount of input CGST and 1,800 is the amount of SGST. Now since we are paying 20,000 for advertisement, 1,800 for SGST and 1,800 for CGST, the total amount that we are paying is 23,600. And how are we paying this amount? Through bank. Since this amount is going through bank, bank is the giver, has to be credited. The next point we have is sold goods for 1 lakh and received a check for the same. Check is sent to bank. We already have discussed this. If check is sent to bank, bank need to be debited, but if check is not sent to bank, check in hand need to be debited. Now here what is happening? We have sold goods for 1 lakh. So see here. Since we have sold goods through check, that means amount is coming into bank. So bank got debited, that is bank account debit. We have sold goods, that means sales is an income. So sales account need to be credited with the amount of sales, that is 1 lakh. Now on these sales, we are also collecting CGST and SGST. This amount has to be paid to the government, and that's why we have to credit it as a liability. So to output CGST account and to output SG account. 1 lakh ka 9%, 9,000, and here also 9,000. So the total amount that we have received is 1 lakh plus 9,000 plus 9,000, that comes to 1,18,000. Moving towards the next point, which is commission of rupees 10,000 received in cash. Now on this commission also, GST must be paid. So here we go. Since we have received commission and in cash, so cash is coming into the business and hence cash got debited. Now since we have received commission, commission being income, got credited. Now obviously on this income we'll have to pay GST, and any GST that we have to pay will become our liability, and that's why output CGST and output SGST got credited. 10,000 ka 9%, that comes to 900 and 900. So the total amount that we have received is 10,000 for commission, 900 for CGST and 900 for SGST. So the total amount comes to 11,800. I guess here we have ended with our question, but there was a point into the question. This is the last point. Will we do in the later segments? Just keep checking it. That output GST adjusted against input GST. Now as we already have discussed that any amount of GST has to be paid on purchases is input GST, and any amount that we have received on sales is output GST. And students, we already have discussed that output GST is payable to government. Now since output GST is payable to government, what we'll do is we'll subtract input, will subtract input from output. That means whatever GST we have collected, will subtract the GST that we have paid, and afterwards the balance will be paid to the government. And this is something that we have to discuss in the next lectures. So today we'll wind up with this. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe, keep washing your hands.